So if you joined me last time, we did adding fractions with regrouping. It's only natural that what comes next is subtracting fractions with regrouping. Now, this is a little bit complicated, so I'm going to take it a little slower than I did yesterday. So let's take a look at the first problem. 2 2/7 minus 6/7. Just like always, I want to line up my numbers when I'm subtracting. So let's rewrite this. 2 2/7 minus 6/7. Here's the problem. When I'm looking at my fractions, I can't take 6 out of 2. If you were using whole numbers, I would borrow from my 10s and give it over to my 1s, right? Well, we're going to do the same concept here. We're going to borrow from my 1s, so let's borrow 1, and we're going to give it here. But how can I write 1s, a 1, in terms of 7ths? So if I were to break a pizza into 7 pieces, let's go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's not so perfect, but you get what I'm saying. How many pieces do I need to be the same as a whole pizza? I need 7 7ths. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to borrow one whole, and I'm going to write it over here in 7ths, because 7 7ths was the same thing as the one I borrowed. So 1 9/7 minus 6 7ths. And what does that give me? Well, 9 7ths minus 6 7ths is 3 7ths. And 1 minus 0 is 1. So we get 2 2/7 minus 6 7ths is 1 3/7. How was that? I hope not too bad. But let's keep practicing just in case. Number 2. 7 3/10 minus 2 9/10. Again, what's the first thing we're going to do? Line them up. So 7 3/10 minus 2 9/10. And just like before, we have a problem. I can't take 9 out of 3. So what am I going to do? So what am I going to do? Well, I need to borrow from my 7 and make that 6, and I have to give it over to my 10ths. How many 10ths make a whole? That's right, 10 10ths. So we can rewrite this whole problem as 6 13/10 minus 2 9/10. And now my subtraction is much easier, because 13 minus 9 is 4/10, and 6 minus 2 is also 4. So if you got to this point, you did a great job. But if you take it one step further, you did a terrific job. What's the next step I can do? There's no improper fractions. There shouldn't be, at least. But what can I do? I can reduce my fraction. Both numbers here are divisible by 2. So that gives us 4 2/5. Great job, guys. Okay, problem number 3. Problem number 3. Five 2/9 minus 4 5/9. I lined it up because you know what? You guys are lucky. When you're rewriting the problem, you can just rewrite it in this order. I'm writing it for the first time on the board. So, again, I can't take 5 out of 2. Do you notice a pattern here? I'll give you a clue. This whole worksheet's about regrouping. So, what am I going to do? Well, I need to borrow from my 5 and give it in terms of 9ths. So how many 9ths make the whole, the 1 that I borrowed? 9 9ths is the same as 1. So now let's rewrite this. 4 11/9 minus 4 5/9. Let's just think about this. If I had 4 pizzas and I ate 4 pizzas, what would I have left? No pizza. So let's think about my fractions though. 11 ninths minus 5 ninths is 6 ninths with 0 here. So I don't have to put the 0. I don't put it there. I just leave the fraction. Now, if you notice, crazy thing, you can reduce. Divide by 3, divide by 3, and that gives me 2/3. Okay, that one was a tricky one. Really hard. Tough stuff. So if you got it, then you're really on a roll. Let's do number 4. Why don't you start on your own? Remember, what's the first thing you're going to do? Line up your fractions. So let's do that. 3 1/4 minus 2/3. What's the next thing we're going to do? We're going to find a least common denominator. What's my least common denominator here? 12. You guys are going great. So we're going to multiply by 3 and we're going to multiply by 3 in order to make that have a denominator of 12. So that's 3 3/12. And then we're going to subtract. To turn 3 into 12, we're going to multiply by 4, and that gives me 8/12. So if you notice, what made this one super hard, they didn't have a common denominator. But you know how to find the common denominator already. We've been doing that for a few days now. So they have a common denominator. Why don't we just subtract? Why can't I just subtract right now? Because 8 is bigger than 3, and I can't take 8 out of 3. So I need to borrow from that 1 and give it over here. So let's rewrite it one more time. 2 15/12 minus 8/12. Look how many times I rewrote my problem. It's okay. Sometimes you have to write it over and over and over, and it helps you, I promise, because every single time you take a step, you've made your problem easier. You've taken one step to solving it, to simplifying it. So 15 minus 8 is 7/12, and 2 minus 0 is 2. So if you take a look, once I found the common denominator, I made my problem a little easier. Once I realized I needed to regroup, I made my problem a lot easier. And then I was able to just simply subtract. So it's really important that you look at the problem as taking one small step at a time. Okay, problem number 5. Nine 1/8 minus 4 1/4. So, do they have a common denominator here? No. So let's do this. Let's multiply by 2 and multiply by 2, and that would give me 9 1/8 minus 4 2/8. I hope you guys are getting better at finding those common denominators now. Well, what's the next thing I need to do? So I found the common denominator. What I'm subtracting, the fraction was larger than what I'm subtracting from. So I need to regroup. So we're going to add 8/8 here, which gives me 8 9/8 minus 4 2/8, which then gives me 9 minus 2 is 7/8, and 8 minus 4 is 4 7/8. Tricky problems, but good news, we're on the last one for the day. Number 6. Four 7/12 minus 1 3/4. So I gave it to you like this. What do I want you to do? Line them up. In fact, if you had wanted, before you line it up, you can even find your common denominator. And it can eliminate one of your steps, because I can do this. 4 and 12, my common denominator, we've seen this one a bunch of times. We know it's 12. And then I can just rewrite it going up and down now. 4 and 7 twelfths minus 1 and 9 twelfths. And when I perform my subtraction, I'm going to need to borrow from my 4 and give it to my fraction, rewriting it here as 3 and 19 twelfths minus 1 and 9 twelfths. And now I can subtract much easier. 19 minus 9 is 10 twelfths, and 3 minus 1 is 2. But wait, there's more. So both of these numbers are divisible by 2, so we are going to want to reduce one last time, giving me 2 and 5/6. And that's it. I know this was a hard unit, so it's really important, especially when we get to these hard units, that you take them one step at a time and you practice, practice, practice. So do the independent worksheet that's located inside my notes, and if you have any questions, I'm here for you. I'll see you guys later. Bye.